Hands on, feet on, powered on your mark. On is the start of everything. On is the key to learning. Being on an environment, not just in it. Being on the world, not just of it.
Tarkett understands how important On is.
We work on it every day. On the ground with you, designing flooring experiences to grow on, dream on, and get on with it.
Hello, thank you for joining us for our presentation on Synergy, designing non-traditional inclusive learning environments to benefit the underserved. Today, presenting is myself, Sarah Gould. I'm the owner and CEO of KKT Architects in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've been a member of A4LE for probably about 6 years now. And presenting with me is Jim Boulware. He's one of the principals in our firm and was the lead architect on this project. So KKT has been designing education spaces for more than 15 years, and we know a lot about all different types of education spaces, including special education classrooms and facilities within schools. But today we're going to talk to you about a little bit of a different type of project. It is not a school, but it is a great resource for a learning environment for 5 to 12 age range for children that have disabilities. The primary focus of our project was to provide and expand on their existing spaces, which served kind of the older teenagers and up through adults, and provide them enough capacity to serve ages 5 through 12. So our partner in this project, our client, was the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges, which is often referred to, and we'll refer throughout the presentation, as simply the center. The center's mission is to provide opportunities for individuals with physical disabilities to enhance the quality of their lives. They are a nonprofit, and they've been functioning in Tulsa for decades. They are an established institution, and they served younger children, but on a very limited capacity prior to our project. It was really through some summer camps that they were functioning, and they realized that there was a real need in the community to expand that for a more full-time environment for younger children, as well as expanding the resources for all of their members. The center has lots of programs. They have arts and crafts, visual arts, everything from crochet to ceramics, learning to do stained glass, painting, cooking classes, but they also really focused and realized that the members really were drawn to their sports because of the interaction that the members were able to have with others, and also the real benefit that there is to providing that trained and specific physical function that could help the members to better function in society. Another big part of the center's mission is public outreach. They want, it's kind of twofold. So they want the members to have the interaction with the greater community. They can learn from and experience some of the things and the perspective of the greater community. But equally important is bringing the rest of the community into the center so that community members really have an understanding of some of the challenges that these members face. Here in the slides, you can see the center experience is what they call it. And they bring people in and have them do things like the seated volleyball that you see on the bottom left, or the photo right above is people painting with the paintbrush in their mouth. And these are all things that the center does every day for their members, but it really gives you a better understanding of the challenges that are associated with that, when you try to do it yourself and realize how difficult it is. The important thing is, another important thing is also creating that communication with the members and the rest of the community. And so they have a chance through the center experience to interact and to get to know each other. In addition to the center experience, they also have holiday marts where they sell some of the crochet and visual arts components that they've worked on throughout the year for usually around the holidays, and people can purchase them, support the center, interact with the members, and also come home with some great Christmas gifts. So we're going to let Jim kind of walk you through the actual project and talk about the different spaces in the building and how we were able to expand on those.
Hi, so what you're looking at is an aerial photograph from before we started the project. So outlined in red was their existing facility. It was built in around 2003 as a new ground up project. To the left of that in blue, you see kind of it was a trail system. It was really pretty hard for them to maintain it, and it was just seldom used. It really they felt like it exposed their members to the street, and it just didn't feel very protected to them. And then to the right of that was a lot where there used to be, I believe it was a Waffle House at one point that got demolished. And then that land was donated to the center. So they've always had that land. And it's kind of just a narrow paved area right now that they had always designated that for future expansion. And just to kind of fill in some background, they for this project, they really wanted to focus on the sports. They have a lot of different classes and programs, and they really felt like the fastest growing area were the sports programs. So some of the things they offer, adaptive cycling, air rifle shooting, archery, bocce, goalball, power soccer, table tennis, seated volleyball, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair tennis, wheelchair softball, adaptive rugby, power hockey, curling, badminton, yoga, dance, and fitness. So they have a lot of sports, a lot of interest in their sports programs. So this is showing a floor plan of their existing facility. So it was really kind of, it was about 30,000 square foot building to begin with. And it's based on this kind of concept of a main street, where it's a main central corridor that runs kind of east and west. North is to the right on this drawing. So it's this main central corridor that all the individual spaces kind of branch off from that. So they've got computer labs and training kitchen, gymnasium, horticulture. They've got an art program, some administration offices, workout room, and community space. And this original building was designed to be added onto on the second floor. They originally planned to do a 2-story building and shaved it back to 1 story, and then designed the structure, oversized, and the mechanical systems and everything was designed for a second floor later. They since decided that they have that land on the corner, and they really wanted to claim that. They've always felt like they were set back too far from the street and really kind of felt like nobody knew they were there or knew how to find them. So they really wanted to claim that their corner on the intersection. So I'll show you our new plan. So kind of in theory, we continued the Main Street and just turned it to the south. So it's Main Street South now. But the same principle where you have this main circulation corridor, and then you have spaces that kind of branch off of that. One thing they felt was pretty rigid about the original Main Street concept was it gave members one way to traverse the building, and then get to the end, they had to turn around and come back. So they really kind of wanted to do some more kind of arterial and collector roads that kind of branched off of the existing Main Street. So along the arts, we've got a new indoor therapy pool. We've got some community space. There's some locker rooms, and then there's some offices, then gymnasium. Then out on the corner, they wanted to claim that corner, and they came up with an idea for an adaptive climbing wall. So that's what is kind of marking their territory on that corner. We've got a yoga room, and then it's a 2-story space. So we've got an elevated walking track, and then some community space on the second floor. So we reworked the site to kind of develop the trail system. They really weren't getting any use out of their existing trails, and really kind of determined that it wasn't really programmed. There wasn't a whole lot of reason to go out there, in addition to just being exposed to the elements and being exposed to the street. So they really thought this connection corridor could kind of enclose the area around their trails, and then they programmed the spaces around the trails to kind of generate some interest and provide some incentive to go out there. So, so the trail system, one lap around it is 1/8 of a mile, but it also kind of creates 4 different paths to get from the new building to from the existing building to the new building. And each one kind of has a different set of circumstances and, a different grade on the paving. So it really kind of steps up the challenge of, do you want the easiest path to get there, or do you want to try a little bit harder? All the trails are 10 feet wide, so they allow for walking and cycling in both directions and passing. So one thing I didn't mention was our new finished floor is 9 feet higher than the existing building. It's pretty dramatic, and especially when you consider this is for people with physical challenges. So it's just the way the site worked out. Everything kind of drains towards their existing building, and there's a culvert that goes under our new walkway for drainage. But the trails can be used to reach either the new building, they can be used to reach, there's some outdoor flat graded areas that can be used for outdoor activities. All along the walking paths, there are, little breakout areas for seating, and people can rest and socialize. And then we've got there's an outdoor court. So in addition to the new court they're building, they also got another one outside with multi-sports. And then we doubled our parking lot up as a softball diamond. So the softball diamond, they had a lot of members express interest in it, and they really just couldn't justify financially, and they didn't have the space for it to just build a paved area for wheelchairs, for wheelchair softball. So kind of during the design process, we came up with this idea. The existing parking lot was also oversized, like the rest of that building. So it met the parking requirements for the entire building, even the addition. They did want to provide more parking just for convenience and adjacency to the new entry over here. But they really didn't lose anything. If they want to block it off and have a softball game, they can still use that area of the parking lot for that. So the outdoor inclusive green space and trail system, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. So there's a outdoor reflective water feature that was really, it was a memorial to one of their members who had passed away. But it's kind of kind of an inclusive area where people can sit and reflect and just kind of take a break from all the activity inside. If they want to take a break and go sit outside and relax, they can do that. So then this shows all the connections between the outdoor programmed spaces. So one of the things that was really interesting about working with the center, you know, we as architects, we have pretty good understanding of the ADA and universal design principles. But the center really has a unique approach, and a lot of that just comes from experience and working with their members one-on-one and helping them kind of learn to function and lead productive lives. So really, rather than just focus on like a worst case scenario, like you may think, well, if you can get a wheelchair through there, then you've got it covered for people with canes and everything else. But they really wanted to take the time to consider for all of their members. You know, they've got blind people, they've got you know, people with spinal injuries, they've got people that use canes and service dogs. So they really kind of tried to make it equally accessible for all of their members. So that was really the goal, more than to make it accessible for the worst case and then assume it would work for everybody else. And it was really kind of a great learning experience for us to be able to experience that with them, and really kind of gave us a different insight into, you know, some of the principles and the reasons behind the ADA and the universal design theories. So so it's really kind of about creating options for different physical challenges. So the slide that's up, you can kind of see the trail system where you've got three different paths, and they're all at different slopes. So another thing the center believes in is creating, you know, goals and challenging the members just because they realize the benefits of accomplishment. So they're always encouraging their members to try something that they didn't think they could do before. So you're starting to see the beginning of the butterfly garden here. And this was part of the original horticulture program. The director of the horticulture program found a grant that they wanted to go after that paid for the planning and the kind of infrastructure to build the butterfly garden. So we had the opportunity with all the slope paths, we were able to situate the horticulture program, the raised planter beds in between the paths. So it allows, as the sidewalk slope, it allows the member to find the right height for a raised bed. And there's a transfer bench that goes around it. So it's as flexible as we could get it. You know, some of the members don't like the raised beds. They would rather it just be on the ground. So this gives them the opportunity to pick the spot they like and then work from there. So one of the biggest challenges of the whole project was this connection corridor. The center really insisted that it was an enclosed. We looked at doing some a sidewalk that maybe had some covering. They really wanted that to be enclosed. They wanted all this to feel like one facility from the street. And they really felt it was important for the protection of their most vulnerable members, that they could be able to go back and forth inside an enclosed building. So like I said before, the one of the challenges was that the new finished floor of the building is 9 feet higher than the existing building. A couple other challenges, these yellow arrows are indicating there's an underground storm line, there's an underground sanitary line, and underground electrical line that go under our corridor. Now, in 20 years of being an architect, I've never once been able to build a building on top of an existing utility. And I don't know that I've ever even heard of it being done. The city was great to work with on this. They really understood what the goal of this connection corridor was, and they helped us worked with us to develop some solutions that would be acceptable to the utility companies and the center. And it wound up being kind of a great team to work with the owner and the city. So what we came up with, the solution, we looked at doing like removable sections of the building where they could come in with a crane and then lift that section out to access the line underneath it if they needed to. That really got pretty complicated and wasn't inexpensive. So we came up with this solution where essentially we've created a bridge section over each utility that spans the entire width of the easement. So the bridge section is perpendicular to the line underneath it and the easement. The embankments on each side are retaining walls that would allow them to come in and excavate under that bridge section without compromising the bridge or the connection corridor. So some of the benefits that worked out for us was this really kind of, it lengthened the connection corridor and allowed us to relax the slope of it, where a typical ADA ramp is 1 to 12. This one is 1 to 24. What the extra length did was help our ramp. We were able to extend it from a 1 to 12 ADA ramp to now this one's 1 to 24. So the handrails weren't required, the landings weren't required. We still provided them for extra assistance for any users that needed it. And it also created a couple connections to the outdoor trails, which give the users a couple more options between how they want to move between the existing facility and the new facility. And it provided some low areas for seating and breakout space. Just if you need to stop and rest, you can take a break, or if you just want to stop and look out the window and watch people on the trails, they can. So the concept of this was we really tried to open it up to the trail side with big expansive windows on that side. The art department kind of claimed the other wall for a gallery. And they also, you know, it's kind of a rotating show that they put on. But they also have plaques and trophies that their sports teams have run. So we threw a couple windows in there that just kind of mimic the canvases. So this is our new floor plan once you get past the connection corridor. So you kind of see there's the concept of Main Street takes it all the way up to the corner, but then you can break off and you've got the locker rooms and then the pool. There's another little arterial road that takes you down to the lobby, past some offices, and then the gymnasium, and then a yoga room. So this really kind of, there were 5 principles that we kind of thought about. One's flexibility, accessibility, durability, low maintenance, and safety. So those were really kind of the 5 most important things to the user group. You know, one thing, they're always looking for flexibility, and they're always, you know, they're always changing out their sports programs. They're, you know, depending on what's going on that time of year. They may have more interest in one thing than something else. So it's always about flexibility and how can these spaces be used as much as possible. I mean, you know, when you're paying for every square foot of a building, you want to be able to use it as much as possible. So the other thing is their existing building just takes a beating from the users. You know, whether it's wheelchairs or power chairs, um, you know, even service dogs and canes, and I mean, it just takes a lot of abuse. So they really wanted wall protection on all of the walls. They wanted durable surfaces, and they wanted stuff that was easy to repair if they needed to. Um, so our door widths throughout the facility, they're either 3'6" or they're 4 foot wide, which is oversized compared to a normal 3 foot door. Or it's a pair of 3 foot doors, so it's a 6 foot opening. When you get into the gymnasium, some of the sports chairs, their wheels are canted out and provide a wider wheelbase that provides more stability for the sport. So navigating those through corridors and getting them through doors and into locker rooms and into restroom stalls, you sure don't want to have to switch to a different wheelchair to get in a different room, you know. So we kind of took all of that into account in the design, and all of that is pretty consistent throughout the building. So another thing that was really important, I jumped ahead of myself there, sorry, was natural light. They really found it was important for as much natural light as they could possibly get, and mainly for visually impaired people. And we tried to get light from at least 2 different directions because it creates more natural shadows. And depending on how visually impaired you are, a lot of times you kind of make out space based on the shadow pattern of it. So they found that was really important. So you'll see when we get into the floor plan, we're borrowing light through other spaces if we don't have an exterior wall available to put a window on. Another thing was acoustics. Their existing building has a round rotunda, and that is their lobby. And they've noticed that the echoes really make it disorienting for blind people, and it makes it hard for them to figure out where they came from and which way they need to go to get to where they want to be. And then another thing just generally throughout is they just kind of felt like minimal finishes maximize their square footage and equipment. You know, it was really kind of more important to them to be able to fit out their building with all the equipment they needed than to do a higher grade finish for aesthetics. You know, we've got nice finishes for durability, but it's just for aesthetics, it really was not a high priority to them. So one of the other things is storage. It's really, when you're on a tight budget, it's easy to kind of let the storage slip and let that wind up in program space. And that's what they had done on their existing building, on their original design. The money got tight and they wound up putting offices where they planned for storage. So we basically got to catch that storage that never got built, got to go in our square footage. In addition to, you know, all this equipment takes up a lot of space to store it. And they provide this all for the members. The members don't have this and bring it with them all the time. So they provide all this equipment and they have to store it. So it was really important not to lose our storage. We came close a couple times, but we managed to avert that disaster. So what you're looking at now is the main entry lobby that they wanted that to function not only as a lobby and a registration if they had a tournament coming in, they wanted it to be kind of a rec space. So, it's really just kind of an open multi-purpose space. They've got seating for groups, and then they've got some tables they can wheel out for card games or board games. There's a pool table that flips over and becomes an air hockey table. They've got arcade games. They've got karaoke and virtual reality sports and gaming systems. And it's really just kind of a hangout space. They really feel like the socialization is as important as the fitness. So they just wanted to provide a space to kind of hang out and have fun and just socialize with other members. So one thing we thought was interesting was their existing building had a terrazzo floor, and going into this, we thought that's got to be the perfect floor surface. And they quickly corrected us and let us know that they hated it. With all of the wheelchairs going through and the canes and the service dogs, they just found it was really impossible to keep that looking nice. They had a company coming in and waxing it every month, and it was just more work than they really wanted to invest in that when they thought they should be investing in their members. So they went into this knowing they wanted a sealed concrete floor, which is great. I mean, it's really kind of the cheapest floor you can build, and it's maintenance free and it frees up more money for them to kind of invest in other things. So I'll flip on to the pool here. So they had offered this this kind of swimming program to their members for years, but they've never had a pool. They've always had to rent it from other organizations. And none of the pools that they were able to rent really fit the needs of their members. So they really knew they needed to, from day one, design their own pool with their members in mind. So we partnered up with a pool consultant who actually, specializes in Olympic type pools. And they brought some great ideas to the team. So kind of similar to, their idea of being equally accessible to everybody. So we've got 4 ways in and out of the pool. We've got a flip over. So we've got a mechanical lift. We've got the steps with the handrails. We've got a ramp with a transfer bench, and then we've got the ladders. There are handrails that go all the way around the pool. And it's for safety, but it's also for therapeutic, just for exercise. The pool has a resistance feature. There's an underwater treadmill. The pool slopes from 3 foot down to 5'6", and there's landings at 4 foot and 5 foot in between. And that's really kind of to allow the individual users to kind of pick the spot that works the best for them individually, and they can kind of hang out there and do their workout at the spot they feel the most comfortable. So really the heart of the project is the gymnasium. And kind of as we said before, is really about fitness and athletics. So they really wanted to focus on wheelchair basketball. That is their most popular sport for every age group. Everybody wants to play. One of the problems when you only have one gym is you wind up, they have a problem, like how do they break up their teams? I mean, if you've ever seen anybody play wheelchair basketball, it is violent. And it has a nickname, murder ball. And if you've ever seen it, you'd understand why. But you don't necessarily want, 8-year-old kids playing with grown men. And, it was really important to them to be able to provide safe spaces for each age group and each sex, and be able to break them up kind of by their ability. So it's really kind of a safety thing, but it allows them a lot of flexibility to do multiple sports at once. On this court, we've got stripes for power soccer and goalball, just like their other court does. So they could have a tournament going on in this gym, and then just their regular members could be working out in the other gym. So their existing court had a had a rubber floor, which they loved. They wanted to do that on this one too. They think it wears really well, and it's more forgiving to falls than a hardwood court would be. We've got retractable bleachers that kind of provide some more flexibility and can be pushed out of the way and when they're not in use. So we also provided 2 cross courts in this. All of our goals are mechanically adjustable. Electrically, they can flip a switch on the wall to raise them and lower them to the height they want them to be. So this lets them break it down into, they could have basketball on one half of the court, and then they could be playing bocce or power soccer on the other half. So even each individual space can be broken down into different sports and activities. So here you see they do yoga in there. They've also got a separate yoga room. And then power soccer, curling, and then bocce, all kind of happening at the same time. So another thing was they wanted to be able to host events and even rent out the gym for outdoor uses, since they have 2 now. They can have their members in one gym, and they can rent this out to a community group, or they can, let somebody else come in and use it. We also provided two big ceiling fans to help with air movement. And we've got windows looking in on 3 sides of the gym. So again, that was to bring in more natural light in different directions, so you don't get a bunch of weird shadows on the floor. So just to the west of the court, we have a kind of breakout area that we call it the kind of cardio class, because right now they have some fitness equipment in it. So one of the things, they wanted windows all along this facade because that's where the main street is, and they wanted everybody to be able to look in and see how active their members are, and just really kind of send a kind of signal to the community that they're active and they're doing stuff, and come in and see what they're doing, and if you're interested and they can provide a service that might help you, just come on in. So right now they've got some equipment in this space, but it's really kind of designed to be breakout space in case they have a big tournament. They can have extra seating on this side. They could even kind of lay out a bocce court over here if they wanted to do something while there was a game going on. So then this takes us up to the climbing wall, the adaptive climbing wall in the corner. So they really wanted a sign on the corner is what they wanted. And then kind of throughout the process, one of the steering committee members had an idea about an adaptive climbing wall. And it turns out that their insurance company, because we originally had it in the gym, their insurance company actually required it was in a room by itself that was locked down, that could only be accessed with a staff member, along with a member. So anytime anybody is in the climbing wall room, they're in there with a staff member. But it was really kind of an exciting thing that they wanted windows into it so people at the intersection could see them. So we've got windows on both sides of the climbing wall, and there's 4 stations at the climbing wall. They worked with a climbing wall consultant out of Stillwater that runs the climbing wall at Oklahoma State. So he came in and he helped them lay out. First, he identified the equipment that they would need, and then helped them find where to purchase it. And then he kind of helped them lay out the paths. So each one of the paths are based on difficulty and the size of the grips. But it kind of allows, again, it allows the members to kind of choose the path of resistance that they want to choose that day. So it gives them a lot of flexibility while it's still accessible. The floor in there is a 4-inch thick foam pad. So it's safe for falls. All the there's 4 harness systems that are mounted above. So it's still pretty safe for them. So the next one is the kind of adaptive yoga room, and it's really kind of a breakout space that can be used for staging. If there's a basketball tournament, it can kind of be a kind of a more quiet, reflective space for adaptive yoga or dance or calisthenics. So there's some wall-mounted equipment that's required for that. So there's storage room behind it, and they can pull out all of the resistance equipment and just mount it to the wall where each member needs it to be for their individual uses that day. So the next space is the elevated running track. So when they had one gym, they had several people who just like to come in and, you know, they would kind of run laps around the gymnasium, but they, you know, especially if there was a basketball game going on, it wasn't the safest thing for them to be doing. So they really felt it was important to have an elevated running track around the gym. Now we've got a lot of breakout space around the gym anyway, but in addition to that, they wanted this elevated running track just to keep everybody safe while they were kind of, if they had a game going on. And it also provides additional spectator seating if there's a game or a tournament. And then we wound up with a little bit of breakout space off the side of the running track where they've got plans for a harness system that can be mounted to the steel trusses above that kind of assists with people making the transition from a wheelchair to being able to walk on their own. So it really kind of provides some space for that. And again, they got a huge donation on physical equipment, exercise equipment. So they're just kind of looking for spots to put it at this point. So one of the other spaces, you know, and this happened during design, was one of their rooftop units went out on their existing building, and the director had to go up there with maintenance to look at it, and just happened to look and realize that she just had a fantastic view of downtown Tulsa's skyline from on top of that roof. So, you know, the next meeting, she said, we got to have a roof terrace. And we were already talking about having this kind of second floor breakout space. And really the goal behind this is just community outreach. It's really something that community groups can rent or borrow. And just provide some community, you know, they're trying to get their members kind of back into the community. So one of the steps is bringing the community in. So they wanted to provide this just to get some interaction between outside groups and their inside groups. And then we wound up with an outdoor roof terrace that these photos are from, you know, right towards the end of construction. So we've got some planters all along one side that is also run by the community, or the horticulture program takes care of those and maintains them. So that is really kind of all of the spaces in the building. And you want to jump on, Sarah? Introduce the video?
Sure, absolutely. So we wanted to just share a little bit from the perspective of Lori Long, who was the previous executive director. We worked with her all through design and construction on the project. So here's just a little bit, it's a very short clip, just giving from her perspective about the design process and the end result.
My name is Lori Long, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges. The mission of the center is to improve the quality of lives for persons with physical disabilities. We serve a really wide array of individuals with varying types of disabilities. It can be individuals who have survived a stroke, have possibly sustained a traumatic brain injury, a spinal cord injury, or maybe individuals with vision impairments, hearing deficits, and other medical conditions like multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, ALS, and Parkinson's disease. One of the most exciting aspects of our new facility, the Hardesty Family Adaptive Sports Complex, was the opportunity to serve children in our community, which we found over the course of our research to be a very large unmet need. And so we are now able to serve children ages 5 to 17 through a variety of program opportunities. We believe that one of the most unique aspects of our programming at the center allows our youth specifically to be able to kind of step out of their comfort zone, or maybe it's even a comfort zone they didn't realize they had, this self-imposed box. And so learning that confidence and having that confidence in themselves to explore new aspects that will help them grow throughout their lifetime. And one of the most important things is that they can take what they've learned through the programming at the center and carry that into other aspects of their life, whether it be at home, at school, or in other community activities and events that they may be involved with. One of the greatest aspects of working with KKT Architects was their ability to be a true partner. And what I mean by that is they, of course, have a team of experts in their respective fields, but they partnered with us knowing my team at the center were experts in our respective fields. And so it was a really nice collaboration where we could teach them what's needed specifically in working with persons with disabilities from a design and a logistical day-to-day perspective. And they listened, they really listened, and they took that into account as we worked through the design and the programming and planning process. They are partners and collaborators with us as a community, and we really believe they are in this with us for the long haul.
Jim, if you want to go ahead and advance to the next slide. Here we go. I think it's the next one. Well, a little bit, there we go. So this is a very unique project. And we feel very honored to have had the opportunity to work on it. Ultimately, what we were able to do successfully in this project by working very closely with the client as a true partner was to expand the services that the center was already providing, not just to an increased membership, but specifically to serve the youth in the Tulsa community who have physical disabilities. The project's been open for about a year, and so they were able to have a summer program in the new facilities. But of course, with COVID, there have been a little bit of hiccups. They've continued their programming. They're actually doing some online resources. But in the first year, they were able to serve 52 individuals. And that's just the unique individuals. There were lots of hours. I think it says 2,000 hours of service overall. And most importantly, they really see growth potential because a lot of these students that have extreme disabilities don't really have the opportunity to have the extracurricular types of activities like the visual art, like the painting, and especially the physical sports activities, simply because they require so many specific, well, the design of the space, as Jim spoke to, but also the actual equipment that's being used. And so we feel really happy to see that already, even within the strange times that we're in right now, they've already been able to really take advantage of this. They're back open to the public now. But also that this has really augmented the education experience, both on cognitive and physical levels, actually as well as the social, emotional levels too, because they're interacting now with other young people as well as the community at large. And then all of those sports, which Jim mentioned that the students have accessibility to now that they possibly wouldn't have had in other circumstances. You can go to the next one. I think there's delay, but we feel very passionate that educating children is such an important thing to be able to give them the opportunities. And we feel really good about being able to extend those same opportunities to this group of children that might not have the chance otherwise. So it's a little odd with this format. We can't do Q&A, but if anyone has any questions or would like to find out more about the project, we're happy to share it with you. I'm sure that my information is posted, but if not, it's sarah.gould@kktarchitects.com, and we'd love to answer any questions that you have. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.